the one I want to look at first, I literally changed my mind like 30 seconds ago. From here, when we're looking at passing the guard, so he's in some kind of guard position like this. And whether he's on his back or whether he's seated, right, is going to determine kind of like what's the best strategy for me to do. And we're going to look at both examples. But the one I want to kind of start with first is if he's seated, right? And if he's not quite seated the way I want him to, or if I want him to be seated, then sometimes me picking up his feet will help to kind of make that up. So I want to kind of weeble wobble them, right? So if I put him on his back, generally when you do something to somebody, or you take something away from somebody, or you make them do something, they tend to want to kind of oppose that directly. If I take something away from you, that's the first thing you're going to fight to get back. So if I take away his position here and I put him on his back, a lot of times he wants to sit back up, right? Because that wasn't his idea. So as he goes to sit up, I want to step in at that moment, right? Now I don't want to hang out in any of these positions. I need to be kind of continuous with my movement. It's a lot harder to deal with somebody who has gradual kind of continuous movement than it is for somebody who peaks and valleys. Because all you have to do with somebody who peaks and valleys is just time out the peaks and the valleys and hit them in the middle and catch them on that downward part. So whenever I go here and I pick up and I put him on his back as he goes to sit back up, I want to bring him and then help accelerate that. So I want to tuck like I'm going to attack his neck. Off of this here, once I go to attack his neck, what's he probably going to do? He's probably going to defend his neck if he's smart. If he's not smart, then choke him. But if he defends his neck here, how's he defending it? He's doing this, because that's the only thing that makes sense to do. When he does that here, I'll arm wrestle him a little bit, then I'll give up and I'll let him take that. By the way, this isn't like a tumor or anything. It's a whoop strap with its little fitness thing, in case you guys are too fixated on that and not paying attention to what I'm saying. It's not like anything great. So we go here, I attack his neck, he pulls away, and I give him the pull away. So I'm going to go here and underhook this side. I'm also blocking here on the tricep because I'm trying to clear a path for myself. Once I make this connection here, I'm in this squat, and then I'm going to dive this knee through to the other side, here, this way. As I go to this position, I'm going to pull and sit back here. I want my ankles to come here and cross between his legs. Not between his legs like this, between his legs like this. You see? Right, this is very different. Once here, now I'm going to take this other hand, I'm going to fish up, and I want to get control of his hand on this side, right? Now I'm going to dish this one underneath and secure my back, okay? So, we get here. If you're going to go in and pick up his feet, don't step so close he can grab your leg before you grab his legs. That's just not a good idea. So we go from here as if I knew how to wrestle or something. So we go here, I'm going to pick his feet up, toss him here, and then tuck his hand. Again, if I can get the choke right here, fantastic, but he's probably going to defend, and I'm going to catch this underhook on this side here. From here, I'm going to drive this as if I were like shooting here this way. As I go to shoot through this direction here, I pull him hard to this side over here, this way. I'm going to lift this leg up. Sometimes he'll do it for me, but I get this cross here, crossing my two ankles, and I'm biting this hip. If I just get like this, and he wants to dish his hips away to escape, it's real easy, right? If I go here and he tries to do that same thing, it's like impossible. He'd have to break his pelvis to do that. So I'm going to dish up here. I'm going to grab this hand. Wrist is okay, hand is better. This way. This one's going to dive through. Boom. I'm going to start attacking the back right here. Okay, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Any questions about this? Absolutely. We go here this way. And you smack him around and stuff. Pick him up. Boom. He goes to sit up. I attack the neck. So I'm tucking here. And I'm going snuff box to trachea. Here like this. He pulls my hand away. I let him. Here. I post, shoot the knee through this direction. I pull. Cross the ankles. Grab the hand here. Right? This space is already open because of my underhook. I come through, grab 1, 2, this way. Okay? I should be right in on his neck, hopefully. Okay? Let's try this first, guys. He sits up here like this. I go in. He pulls to resist here like this. If I get the choke, don't try to take the back right now. Just choke. Like you don't do extra stuff. You know, be lazy. We get here. When I go, I post here and I slide. I'm not sitting straight back. If I sit straight back, it's going to be kind of a weird back take. I might still get it, but he's so much to the side of me that it's going to be kind of a lopsided back take. What I'm thinking is I want to like DDT his head to the floor over here, right? That's how I'm pulling to the back right now. I'm not lying straight back. I'm going here and pulling off to the side here. You see how his head hits the floor? So be careful, don't smash your partner's head to the floor, but this is good here. Now, this is a partner thing, what he's doing with his legs. It's a nice partner thing. It's not a super realistic opponent thing. Opponents tend to stay more like this, right? So here, I top here this way, we go. And if he keeps his legs up like that, here, this way, then sometimes it even creates another opportunity here, depending on how much his legs come up. Now, in this case, I would probably just bite right here. If I pulled so hard and he came up this high, now his leg is exposed here, this way, right? So sometimes you can pull straight to this truck position off of this back kick, right? So we go here, at the top, here, he resists, I pull. See, I got his leg. So then we can go in straight for a calf slicer off of here, possibly. I would say probably don't go quite like this, right? If you're gonna grab with two hands, which isn't always needed, but I would go around the leg here if you can get inside, right? Otherwise, just finish with one hand. Because I don't want him to open this leg up here and grab my arm and then arm bar me while I'm trying to calf slice him. It's just a big mess. If you need extra pressure here, go high up on the toes. Don't stay back on the shoestrings, definitely don't go on the ankle. You get here, high up on the toes. You need extra pressure. Don't use the figure four. Step on your foot and just blow that thing out. So, you get here, up, he sits up, go for the choke, and shoot, hard pull to here, okay? Look at where his head is in relation to mine. I want his spine or my spine kind of perpendicular off of here, okay? Then I can come up and go for this, right? More things exist. If I get here, I'm trying this, I don't feel like I have a good hold, I can always go back. Goes back, okay? It's just the opportunity, if it presents itself, you might as well try it, because you're not losing ground, If you have a sequence, say there's this sequence that happens, and it's if this happens, I can get this, if this happens, I can get this. The way to prioritize those things is, what am I gonna lose if this fails, right? If I've got these 5 things, and this is my favorite over here, so I'm just gonna go straight to that. The problem is sometimes these other 4 things don't exist anymore. So if I screw this up, that's all I got, right? So even though I don't like this thing or this thing quite as much as this thing, might as well try it. Because if this fails, I still got these. This fails, I still got these. Okay? So you gotta kill your darlings sometimes, right? If you're too emotionally attached to one thing, if you have too much of a favorite thing, then you're gonna really jeopardize a lot of other opportunities that exist like that, right? So, it's a great quote that I'm gonna screw up, so I'm gonna think about it before I say it next time. But it's something that Musashi said. So it's really profound, but I almost screw that up. Having an overdependence on one weapon is the same as having, see, I screwed up. It's good. I'm gonna Google it, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be oh, that's amazing. So we get here, boom, this way, I come in, I try the choke. Choke's not working, we go here. I go to pull, I don't get a strong pull, I take his back. I get a super strong pull, we get this trunk opportunity, right? So pulling, see this inside hook? I'm figure 4ing to save that leg. I like to put my shoelaces rotated inward against his so that I don't lose this leg right away, right? So then maybe I can come up here. I'm late or I'm weak, here like this, and he straightens that leg out. Oh, here. Look, you see that little seesaw action? I think this is really cool. I don't know about you guys. But see how I can seesaw just with my legs? It gives me that space. Okay? You don't have to seesaw them 3 times unless you just want to, just to see how cool the leverage is. But this makes sense though? Yeah. So let's try it this time, and whenever we go to pull, I'm pulling way across and lifting in with my legs and getting that figure 4 so I can start to look for that leg attack right there. Okay? Pushing down, sits back up here like this, he's stubborn. I go here. First of all, if you're getting this arm trapped here like this as you go, it's not a bad, it's a good thing. Right? It's actually a good thing. But it's not going to lead to the opportunity that we're doing right now. You're going to have a cool arm trap when you take us back, so that's cool. But we're dealing right now if I don't get that. Second thing here is if I just slide through and I just sit back and pull, right? Like that. You're not gonna get it. Don't force it. This is like an opportunistic thing, right? But I'm gonna pull really damn hard so that here we get this way. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to put his butt on my face. That sounds weird, but that's what I'm trying to do, right? And so now I've got good access to that. And again, if he doesn't like that, he wants to straighten that leg out, boom. Shoelaces to shoelaces, extend that back out, and I can always go back to get the back here. Does that make sense? So like when you go to pull, like think about, I'm not just pulling with my arm, I'm pulling my legs, I'm almost doing like a backward somersault. And the only reason he doesn't go flying this way is because he runs into this leg, right? Which gives me my figure 4 on the legs like that. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Okay. And side note, completely tangential. If like Eric's recording from me, so like if he's walking in front of you, he's not just, you know, being rude. So like everybody's welcome to record and everything, but just let you know, like if he's walking and gets in front of you, he's not just oblivious to it. He's like trying to get it from me. So anyway, let's go on and do that 1, 2, 3. And he sits up and like this happens sometimes. Like I go to like tuck his head and he's like, "Nah, son," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Nah." And so he's not letting him get it. Yeah, this kind of happens, right? But if that's happening, then what's really happening here? What's happening when I tuck his head? I'm collapsing space here that I'm getting in here. When he keeps his head away from me, he's expanding space. What is the space? The space I want to focus on is here. Shoulder to hip to knee. When that opens, that's a significant wedge of the body opening. And I can take advantage of that space. Anytime there's space, there's opportunity. I just have to know what to do with it. I have to know how to fill those spaces. If I don't know how to fill those spaces, I at least need to know how to manage those spaces. To be like an absentee landlord of that space, right? Because if I'm managing that space, and by managing, that means that I may not necessarily be filling it, but I at least know what's gonna happen if he fills it. And I'm okay with that, right? So whenever we get here, and I try to pull and he pulls back away from me, boom, right? So I know that to some degree that's opening that space. That's gonna set up my ability to cut through that space, right? Now, a couple different things. I may cut through with my knee, right? Or I may just step through, right? And this is the stupidest guard pass in the world, and it's real effective. If I go here and I try to pull and he opens, boom, just step through, okay? And I promise you, you'll make it work at some point. The other person will just like probably think about quitting jiu-jitsu. But it really does work. And a lot of times you can get like here, right? It's real dumb. So try that, you know. But if you want to be more technical or something, then we can go here, and I'm going to club his head. He's not letting me have it. I'm going to scoop. I still want that underhook because I don't want to do some kind of pass that gives him access to my back. That'd be the worst thing, right? So we get here, and I get my underhook, and I'm going to cut this knee through, okay? As I go to cut that knee through, here this way, okay? I'm not just cutting the knee through and leaving this big gap of space for him to throw a knee in there of his own, right? That's a new problem. I don't want that. I'm dropping my hip in that space. So this is kind of my posture here. Right now I'm posted on the floor, but that's just because I'm trying to be nice, right? It should be this, here, sorry, here, right? I should be tight right here. The last obstacle in my way off of this knee cut is this arm. I don't want him expanding, making space that he's going to use to replace his guard or do some other kind of escape. So I want to control that arm. So I'm going to scoop underneath it, and then I'm going to try to clear this leg. Please don't do this just because I hate it and I don't like seeing it. This lazy, like you just did all this great stuff and you just decide to take a siesta. And you're just like, don't do it. This is a lazy scarf hold. Stay tight here. Put your belly on his face, right? Put your ribs on his face and keep his shoulders flat. I want to pin him, right? So I get here, I want his head. He doesn't want me to get his head. He pulls it away. I go underhook, knee cut through, okay? Does this make sense? Sometimes my foot will shave all the way through, and that's nice when that happens, okay? If it doesn't happen, we'll deal with that in a moment. Now I'm gonna scoop this one up here, this way, and I wanna start moving here. I don't wanna stop at side control and just plop here and give him a mile and a half of space to replace his guard, right? I wanna go here. So if he wants to replace his guard now, it's a lot harder. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So we're using a similar attacking strategy to, I know now I'm not going to get that good tuck. He keeps his head away, so now I'm going to switch to my knee cut over here. Make sure you establish the underhook, drop that hip to fill the space, and then once you're clearing, make sure you eliminate his ability to frame with that last remaining arm. Okay? Questions? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Triangulating yourself can oftentimes be more controlling than just being heavy and smothering on top. If you're a big person and you can just like heavy smother somebody, then that's great. And even if you're not that big of a person, you can figure out how to make yourself heavier like we talked about, then that can be good too. But what can be just as controlling and even more confounding sometimes to the person on bottom is if I can triangulate myself in a way that makes all of their movement just not make sense anymore, okay? And so what do I mean by that? So triangulating positions. That's what I'm trying to do on this upper shoulder carriage control off of this pass. In simplest terms, right now I'm a pyramid. Would we agree on that? Probably, sort of. I've got 1, 2, 3 points of base. In between these points, there's walls. This one's invisible. This one's here, this one's here. If I really want to evenly distribute my weight, I want to think about where is my center of mass. My center of mass is typically just below my belly button, right? Unless I'm built real weird, right? So the most of us, it's here. And I want that centered in between those 3 points. That's how I'm going to be the strongest structure available. Whenever I can, so now if somebody pushes me forward over here and they take this point here over this wall, I'm going to fall. So I have to create a new point. Now there's a new pyramid, right? They push me this way over here. Now there's a new messed up pyramid. I'm going to have to do something like this. It just becomes a big twister game after a while. So I want to think about that because the significance of that is if I'm going to move somebody, I'm going to sweep somebody, I'm going to take away their ability to move efficiently on me, I have to think about where does their next point need to be? Where are their currently existing points? Where does their next point need to be if I try to move them? How do I deal with those points? Well, the way you deal with those points, like I just mentioned, is taking one point 90 degrees over a wall adjacent to it, right? This way. Does that make sense? Or you can separate the points so far that the structure loses its structural integrity and it collapses, okay? So what I'm trying to do on the offensive side after this pass is I'm trying to create this structure here over their shoulder carriage and over their head to where they're really having a hard time moving me. Why? Because I have a good, pretty equal distribution of weight between my 3 points and my center of mass is located right over what I'm trying to control. Okay. Everybody tracking? All right. So I have no idea if that even remotely answered what you were talking about.
It did.
Okay, good. So let's talk though about something, your own adventure moment, and we see whether we're gonna like skip to page 59 or go back to page 16. He chose for us already, so let's look at what happens next. So when we get here, and still doing the weeble wobble thing, well, but what if like you go to do this and he doesn't sit back up, and we'll get to that, don't worry. We go here, boom, this way. I try to snap his head, he's like, nah, son, and I'm like, boom, get my pass going. Here, I win, right? But I don't want to stop here. Here, this way. Now, I can go just a perpendicular side control, but I'm not going to. We're going to go somewhere else instead. So I'm going to bring this one over here. One, this way. I'm going to go over and back here. So we're going north-south today. On my north-south, the way I want to control this, I'm going to go block here, hand on one side, temple on the other side, this hand back here in this wedge, and my hips over here in this wedge. So I'm controlling 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty good control over the upper body. Difficult for him to deal with that. Okay? So this is where we're trying to get to now. Okay? So let's just go back because I've been talking for a long time. I finished this knee cut pass. Okay? Feeling pretty good about myself. Going here, walking it, walking it, walking it. This arm's coming over, this one's swinging back. And I'm dropping my head in this way. Okay? Everybody see this position? We're good? Okay, let's try to get to that piece. Okay? Then we'll build off of that. Ready, 1, 2, 3. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be exactly the way that his arms don't have to be in any certain kind of configuration. The main thing, if you chop both his arms off, I'm definitely winning this fight. But like, if you chop both his arms off, then I'm still gonna fill the wedges the same way, right? So we get here, I try to snap his head in, no, he's not letting me. I'm still gonna cut here. So he may frame, he may open his armpits, he may do whatever. But the main thing here is like, I'm trying not to allow this, but I don't have to get him straight jacketed out. That's fine. Because once I transition to north-south, those frames don't really mean a whole lot anymore, right? And this is what I'm really wanting to concentrate on anyways, this arm right here. Because like as I'm moving to side control, very common reaction is this frame, right? So a good way to kill that frame is turn it south this way. So I get here, and now what I want to do is I want to take advantage of this frame. Because if I'm perpendicular, this is why I don't like perpendicular side control, my neck is right here, right? And I'm going to choke myself the tighter I squeeze. When I bring my neck down here, if he wants to follow, well, I just kind of killed his frame. He's not doing much to me anymore, right? So as we're turning here this way, I want to take this hand and I'll bring it way up, and I'm trying to put it about here, right? And once I get my forearm wedged that high up here into his armpit, we'll say, right? His tricep armpit area, then I want to put my chest here on top of that arm. So right here, he should feel like all his ribs are going to break, right? And when that happens here now, if I just turn a little bit, look where his hand goes. It has to come in front of my face, right? And you notice how he's rolling up on his side out of self-preservation, right? Out of necessity. Here, my knee is going to hop up there behind that little space made behind his back. Now this one comes through, and I'm going to push it down so that my little Kimura configuration pops up. See it? So now, at this point, I'm going to roll him a little more onto his side. And then I'm going to swap my two knees. One here this way, and lean, right? I'm trying to lean my shoulder, my tricep here on his head. And I'm going to step this over here, right? Now look how far I'm leaning. See where my right ear is trying to go to the floor? Now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to try to take my left ear to the floor instead. I'm going to hold this pretty tight as I do. Okay? This leg here is awesome if it can come around and do this. If it doesn't, whatever. Still got his back. Okay? And again now, swap the hand out, come through, boom, this way. Okay? So, what was all that? We get here, I finish this pass, and I get my north-south. Again, temple to hip, wrist to hip. This arm, maybe elbow, depends on the size, is going to go in this wedge here. My hips over here in this quadrant. Okay? So I'm feeling every quadrant. Here, I bring this up. Now I own this arm. Now I want to put all the weight here, and I want to feel like, if you're the partner on bottom, let them know when you feel like all your ribs are going to break, right? Because they should feel like that. And we turn this way. And see how that rolls him up on his side to relieve the pressure? Now I fill that space. Make space, fill space. Okay? Come through, Kimura configuration here. Not stepping over, right? I'm switching knees, okay? Did anybody ever see the old Milli Vanilli, like, I think it was Blame It on the Rain or Girl You Know It's True, it's one of those, where they're doing that little dance with their... When we go here, I switch knees, lean my ear this way toward the floor, step, and once that foot clears, I switch, right? Now I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna rock from both butt cheeks to left butt cheek to shoulder, right? This one's gonna come up and be like, give me your arm, dude. And he's like, no. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I just cross my legs here. You can get a body triangle, okay? Here. Swap out, come around, and we'll start to choke him, okay? Does this make sense? Kinda, sorta? Let's try it, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's review what we've done so far. If I can remember. When we go here, I'm gonna pop him up like this here. He's gonna come in, I'm gonna snap. I go try for the choke, he resists the choke. He gives me the underhook. I post, slide through. I pull, maybe I pull enough to get this. Or maybe I don't. And I just get this, right? Okay, that's cool. If that happens. The second time here, right? Go here, boom, he sits up. I try to snap down, he doesn't let me. I get the underhook anyway, and I cut through. Okay? I start cutting through. I keep driving in this way. I switch arm 1, 2 this way here. Right? I come up. I drive that pressure in here. The pressure rolls him up on his side. Once I get the pressure got him up on the side, I feel the space behind his back that was made, right? We get here, I get my figure 4 this way. Swap, hard lean to the right, step, both butt cheeks, sit down, right? I roll to the left to lat to shoulder, my ears going toward the floor. So I shouldn't wind up here. It's okay if this happens, but it probably shouldn't, right? I'll probably just wind up here, or maybe just like hacking at the arm down here, right? This is cool too. The thing about this one is that it gives me access to be able to choke. If I go straight to here, a lot of times I'm in my own way to choke, right? So I'd rather have more options, right, available this way. Because at any time, if I want to hike up, I can, but I at least have the choice. I have the option, right? Does that make sense? That's pretty much everything we've done at this point. I want to go over a couple of fine tuning things about how we attack from the back before we move on, because the science said there would be leg locks today, so I'd like to mention some of those before we get out of here. But I want to review this to make sure that we have a pretty good understanding of kind of the flow that we've gone up to from here, and then we're going to look at some back submissions, some back attacks, back controls to solidify that a little stronger. Any questions so far? All right, let's review like every piece that we've done so far. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. When we get here to the back, different ways that we can have them. We typically are falling like very sideways with the guy, right? And that's typically how you're gonna wind up on the back. Like this position right here doesn't happen a whole lot, like where we're both neutral seated. It can happen, it's just rare, you know? So then we, sometimes we'll wind up on the overhook side, sometimes we'll wind up on the underhook side. And both have pros and both have cons. I tend to favor the underhook side. I feel like there's more options available, and I feel like it's a stronger control on that side. But that's not to devalue what's available on the other side, right? So just quickly to run through this, pros about winding up on this side over here. First of all, I like to cross my ankles here this way so he can't slip out easily. He is lying on the arm that I want to choke him with, so that's a good thing. I don't have to free it. It's not trapped. So I can just go straight to the choke. But whenever we go in here to choke, if I'm going to like start to attack from here, I'm going to switch my seatbelt to up and down same time, right? I don't want to completely forget about this and then just try to attack. Since I got the seatbelt, just 1, 2 at the same time. And this grip right here is fantastic, right? It's so significantly stronger than just holding the wrist. So if I grab here by that pinky knuckle like this and smash it this way, sometimes, like we were just talking about this, sometimes you can just get this submission here. It really makes your partner mad because like you got all the way here, you got that choke dead to rights almost, but they're defending too good with this one here. So I'm just gonna pull this shoulder forward here and then put his pinky on the small of his back. Yeah, he doesn't like it. And it's a lot of wrist involved in that shoulder lock right there, okay? So that's a good little attack. When he's like hardcore, just bent on making sure that you don't finish this choke, whatever you do, this can change his priorities a lot of the time at least. If I don't feel like that's gonna happen, I can at least use this here to push down and get this trap here, right? Now I'm gonna come in, I can trap this. I personally, if I can, like to put that foot on the small of his back because this is gonna be a hard way for him to get that free now. My other hook is still doing its job. Now I can come in and finish a little more stylized rear naked choke from here, okay? So these are good things to do on this side. There's more stuff you can do, but if we go to the underhook side, the one that I said I favored before, the way that I want to get to it though is like I want to be a little more perpendicular with him. I don't want my spine in line with his spine. It's going to be easier for him to escape. So whenever we're going, I want my feet to be off center. So I'm going to step on the hip and I'm going to bring this foot across, right? And I want to fall as if I'm turning to look at his face here. Right? Now, to make sure that he doesn't rotate some crazy way right away, I've got a nice deep underhook here, but I'm gonna put my grip, whatever it is, whether it's gable or wristwatch, I like the wristwatch, I'm gonna put that on his shoulder here. So if he wants to rotate his shoulder some kind of way to help him escape, this way or the other way, right? This takes a lot of that away with just a little connection. So I'm puffing my chest, dropping my elbows, and pulling my hands back on his shoulder. It's hard to see these things, but they're there, okay? From here now, I can choke with the top arm, right? But again, I want to go top and bottom same time. So I take this one away that he could defend with, and I want to try to finish. If I'm going to finish the one arm choke, it's not gonna be squeezing. If I squeeze right here to finish, it's hard. But if instead I do this, it's easy. So I'm holding this trap and I'm pulling my elbow back to my lap, right? Like I'm gonna cut his throat, okay? So we go here and then I pull back. It's a lot easier. But he still has this hand to defend with, okay? So I go here, I'm fighting, he's fighting to defend that choke, right? And here, I'm gonna arm wrestle him here, and I'm gonna be like, oh, you're so strong, but I'm not gonna give up. And I'm like, okay, fine, you win. And then I drop, look, I'm gonna put pressure on his elbow and open his arm up. Then I step to kill that. Again, if I can put my shoelaces on that tattoo I saw on his lower back right there earlier, it's there, you know it is. So now it's really hard for him to defend anymore. Now I come back in and then I do that choke again. I don't feel like I'm gonna get with this choke. I can free the bottom arm and come here. Does this make sense? So it's not that these are all equal opportunity things. It's not like these are all equal options. I don't believe in equal options. There's one best option all the time. For everything, there's one best option. I may not know what it is. So I have to use the best option I know of. Does that make sense? If you have a position that's like, well, you can do this, 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 or this, and they're all equal and they're all available, it's like, nah, that's not a real thing. It means that he's just sitting there not doing anything. His energy tells me what the best option is going to be. I just got to be able to read it and understand it. Does that make sense, kind of? It does in my brain, I don't know. So if I don't have the best option, what do? I use the best one I know. And it may not be that great. I may have to force it, and that's okay. It's still jiu-jitsu even if you force it, right? That's why we have reserves. It's why we lift weights. It's why we run, you know? That's what your attributes are for, is for the reserves. It's not for your primary thing, because you don't want to get tired first thing. That's dumb, right? I want to be efficient. I want to save all that energy for when I really need it. I can't make a square peg fit into a round hole, but if it's like hexagonal or octagonal, you can smash it down in there, right? It fits. You just got to use a little elbow grease, a little force, but now you have to suffer though, right? You have to pay that tax. So now you're gonna get tired sooner. So that's why we want to get as efficient as possible. It's not that efficiency is everything, it's just, the most important thing. All right, so these are some back attacks. Let's go through and just see how many different ways we can kill this guy, right? You either kill him or you break him, right? That's all we're trying to do the whole time, kill him or break him. So see how many different ways that we can do this just efficiently, trapping the arms, making sure that all the defenses are taken out of the way before we go in, okay? Let's do this a few thousand times. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Yep. Next. Yes, let's see that. So if we get in this position, sometimes what happens is like, Underhook Side. Ooh, I hate doing it this way. So when we get here, like this, right? And again, I'm going up, down, and he's fighting with the only hand he has free, yeah? Like this. So I go here and I trap. Sometimes when I trap, or sometimes when we just get to this position, I'm hiked up really high like this, yeah? So I'm in my way, like I can't really get in for a good choke like that. Okay? So what I can do instead is I can go here and frame, right? And then I can go there, I can bring this one around and go for the arm bar. Right? But what's cooler than that here is if I'm hiked up like this here, I just reach through and grab my shin, right? And when I grab my shin, I'm going to do a backstroke like this because it's dramatic. I get over here. Then I want to cross and put this one behind his back. Okay? You see? So once we fell to this side and I had this, I'm going to cross 1, 2. The reason I go 1, 2 is because I don't want this foot hanging out here and him to reach up with his legs and grab it and peel it off, like hug it with your legs, both legs, no, both legs. No, hug it. Yes, and then stretch. Yeah, and then bust my triangle. So I go 1, unavailable, 2, unavailable. Where'd you go? Okay, so we're healing this. So now from here, I'm gonna sit up, scoop, and then squeeze this way. If I need more pressure, I can push. If I'm just not getting it, I'm missing something on it. Now we go to the arm bar. Right? Does it make sense? Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of other cool stuff that we can do from it. Right? There's this stuff too. Everybody completely disregard this after I show it. So when we go here, sometimes if he's defending on this side here like this, right, I can wrap over here and grab this wrist. Where's Maz? That's all Maz. Yeah, that's Maz's thing. So then look, we go here. You see how I'm doing this? This is like, I'm trapping his arm all wrong right now. Right? But then from there, I come across this way. And then we get the arm bar from here, right? Or we can set up a triangle, or there's other full steps. You do that again. Yeah. I told you to just disregard. Not too fast. So we go here. He's bugging my arm over here. So I go here and I wrap. Okay, can you see it? I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna pass, I'm gonna try to get this grip here, right? So I have this wrist grip, and now, when I go to let this one go, I'm gonna open this and let this go. When I do that, he's only got one way he can move. He's gotta face me. So here, right? He doesn't have to face me. He can just stay right there. That's why I did this. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so disregard that, we're not doing that today. But just so you know it exists, right? It'll be on that video. Well now y'all threw me off. Okay. Oh, I know what we're doing. So we're gonna go here now. We're gonna take a pit stop and look at some leg stuff. But how's it all tied together, Eli? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because we're gonna go here, boom, this way, right? I get here, I don't do a good job sealing the space or whatever, he clamps down on this little quarter guard thing. This happens a lot of different ways, okay? So he's got this little quarter guard thing here. Pretty bad idea for him to do it. It doesn't really bite him a lot, but sometimes it feels necessary, sometimes it is necessary. And it's desperation because I'm like 80% past his guard, right? Probably more. But if I feel that here and he's really turned over on his side, then I can come, look, I'm gonna sit my butt back. This is real easy to screw up. And I'm probably gonna screw it up a little too, so it's fine. I'm gonna go here and sit my butt on his hip. And then I'm gonna take my knee and knee the back of his leg here, this way. Okay? Now, as we go to sit back, I'm gonna grab up here on his knee, and I'm gonna pull to here. I'm bunching up both these two legs. Okay? Right there, I'm gonna take this and punch him as, don't punch him. I'm gonna go here, this way. Okay? And now his legs belong to me. Okay? So I'm going to keep them. I'm going to cherish them. Okay? Here, this way. So let's get to this position first. Okay? So you see how I'm cupping in, and I'm just kind of cradling his legs. So where did this happen? I was knee cutting, right? What happened was, I was knee cutting, and he clamps down on my ankle, and I go boom, 1, 2, 3. I knee him in the back of his hamstring to make sure his legs are exposed the way I want them exposed, right? I'm gonna grab here. I sit, don't fall. Don't do this. Sit, scoop, okay?
You're in between the legs.
Yep. So, man, how do we get this leg? The top leg is going inside. This bottom leg is underneath his. His legs are on top here. Hold, whatever. It doesn't have to be a perfect figure 4. Just, okay? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
You guys see it? Okay, let's try it, guys. 1, 2, 3. I step in, he does this, right? And again, like I have my underhook, I'm posting here whenever I go to sit back so I can have kind of a controlled descent. A lot of times if I just reach down and grab his legs as I go to sit back, I'll flop onto my back and then I lose that control. And sometimes that loss of control creates space and opportunity, mobility for him to get out, right? So we go here, and I smash this all up, right? I start to pull this back, put these legs all up in my lap, this way here. And so I'm controlling here this way. The reason for this, well, should be fairly apparent, but I'm squeezing in here like this, and I'm trying to stop his ability to rotate one way or another, and definitely trying to stop his ability of escaping this knee. This knee right here, the fact that I have this knee captured is what's really controlling a big majority of this position. If I lose this knee, I'm gonna be really scrambling to pick it up after it. So it's imperative that I get that, right? So we get here like this. So the first, we're just gonna go through kind of a sequence of attacks from here. And again, going back to what I said earlier, it's like I'm going through this sequence in a specific order because if I lose one, I can go on to the next. If I skip ahead 3 steps and attack the thing that I like best off of here, if I just get here and I think only about jumping back on the heel hook, well, maybe I could have hit the straight ankle, maybe I could have hit the calf slice, or maybe I could have hit something else. But now those things aren't options any longer because I've sacrificed those just to jump on my favorite thing. Doesn't mean that, you know, if I've got a super high finish rate on this heel hook, maybe it's worth it, right? But if we're learning and going by the numbers, it's nice to look at them in this sequence, I think. So, having said all that, once we get here, I want my knees up. I don't want to be like this. Sometimes it's comfortable and it's easy to be lazy right here and just flop this leg down and do this. There's no control. It's easy for him to slip his knee out right now. So I'm gonna like pinch up nice and tight this way here. Now I'm gonna attack this top ankle first, right? So as we go to do that here, I'm gonna punch through. And I don't wanna fall back necessarily like this. I wanna try to keep my good posture up right now. I'm pulling his knee, rotating it inward, and I'm gonna try to get pretty perpendicular with my radius here against that Achilles tendon. I'm gonna try to keep this hand up nice and high here. What are we doing with the second hand? I'm not gonna probably keep it here. I can go here and hold like this. I can go here for like a guillotine style grip, right? You can go in this figure 4. I tend not to like this one very much. Now there's people that are very good with this. I'm not saying this is bad. For me, it's not good. Because what happens when I go to do it, the way I understand how, is I put my meaty part against his Achilles rather than the bony part. I want the bony part because it hurts worse, right? And it does more damage. So if I am gonna go figure 4, basically all I'm gonna do is not make the connection. I'm gonna accomplish the figure 4 without the connection. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now from here, I wanna keep this one up nice and high, and I'm gonna arch my back here this way to get that, okay? If his heel slips in a little bit, it's not the end of the world. We still get it this way. It's just gonna break the ankle rather than stretch those ligaments on top, okay? And it's better to break stuff. So when we get here, this is the first one. And we'll go ahead and throw a few of these out just so that we can have a sequence to work on. So again, we get in here, I'm pinching up nice and tight, I'm hugging in. Sometimes you can start high and slide back so that that heel catches you, and now you know you're in about the right place. That stops you from trying to like squeeze and crush his calf. That's not gonna do anything. We get here this way, okay? This isn't happening for me, and I feel like the opportunity exists that I can now dive this one under here. You see? So I put my bicep in the wedge between his legs here. So I just go from here. I don't take this all the way out. I just drop this straight down. So his legs are crossed here. And now I'm gonna bring this thumb to this shoulder, and I'm gonna help with this hand here. Okay? It's very painful. I would say I'd put this probably in the lowest percentage of all the attacks in this sequence. But you're gonna get a quick tap in training because it hurts, right? But I don't think it's a good idea to depend on things that hurt. Pain is extremely unreliable, right? It serves its purpose, it's useful, but when you're adrenalized, like, pain's a very different subjective thing for every person, right? So I don't want to count on pain getting the tap. That my partner should be tapping because he's scared. He's like, oh, this is about to break, I'm tapping. I'm about to pass out, I'm tapping, right? Not because, this doesn't feel good. I'm gonna tap, right? Not that. Okay, so, what do we do? Okay, we go here, going this way, and hold, lift, puff my chest up this way, right? That's not quite happening for me. I'm gonna punch down here this way, and then pull, okay? It can break stuff. It's really painful, but it's gonna be a lower percentage. So let's do those 2 first, and then we'll look at a couple of other options, okay? Questions? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Go here. Step away. This way. Go here. It's kind of a little linchpin kind of placeholder like this, yeah? So now, again, like if he's hiding this, we can just go straight to the heel hook off of here, right? But if this is on top here, then that's when we go through the sequence of attacks. Any trouble that people are still having with this here? Any issues? Everybody's getting the tap most of the time, I guess? Okay. So good. We go here, here, this way. You can go for a toe hold. It's another one that's like not, for me, it's definitely not like the most reliable thing. So, but it exists. It's a thing. But I don't like how straight his leg is here for me personally to do it. So we're getting here and here like this. If I'm losing this one, I'm not getting this, he gets that leg free, right? then now we'll look at this heel hook right here, okay? So whether his leg started on bottom and this was exposed, or whether like now it's just now exposed, either way, okay? So at this point, I'm gonna lean toward this, I wanna grab here, okay? I wanna grab his heel this way, and I'm gonna put my elbow on his toes to make his heel stick out like that. I wanna see that thing, right? And once I push, strike that, now putting that big toe way up in my armpit here. I like this butterfly grip. If you want to switch in and go here, that's cool. I like this grip, and that's what I'm showing today. And I'm teaching a seminar. So when we get here now, right, I'm gonna push my elbow here toward his butt. My heels, his toes in my armpit by association go there. I'm not trying to rotate this way, right? I'm dropping in here. It's pretty awful. For extra added pressure, if you need it, I can start to push my hips laterally through that knee. Knees don't bend that way, generally speaking, right? So it's gonna do some damage. So we get inside like this here, and I wanna grab the heel, I wanna push to expose, and then slide that flexed foot up into my armpit. I get my butterfly grip here, and start to lean back. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I really wanna show one more thing, but let's do this first, okay? Let's get that heel exposure, work on the mechanics of that heel hook, just like 3-4 times each really well. And then let's look at one more thing on the leg locks, and then I got some cradle stuff I want to share with you guys. All right, let's go, 1, 2, 3. Whatever it's being called this week. So once I have this here, right, I don't have to wait for him to pull this free. This heel hook doesn't only exist because I screwed up here and he got that leg free, right? If we go here and I feel like a lot more confident, I don't feel like I'm gonna get this, I can push this across here, right? Now, as I go to sit up here and I have these kind of tied in here like this is pretty strong, okay? Now that heel's very exposed, right? So again, I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna push that way, lean. You should be able to finish this with one arm, but if you need to, you can come back. Because by this time, it's gonna be difficult for him at this point to really help defend it with this leg. He can try, he can come back and start pushing and kicking and all that stuff, but for the most part, if I get here like this and this is tucked in tight, oh, that's pretty exposed. This is pretty good here. Okay, does this make sense? If like from here, I get to this position, sometimes what will happen is I screw up real bad and he like tucks this one in. This is so annoying. I hate when this happens, but it happens. And I don't want to sit here and try to fight and get this back necessarily. I can maybe go over here, but I could also, if I need to, I need to, what's it called? The Kenny Rogers principle. I need to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. So once we get here and I'm just losing all this ground, I'm gonna turn, right? I'm gonna come up. And now look at where we formed up. I'm just back into another pass this way. I'm in a really solid leg drag position here to finish out this pass. And from the leg drag position here, I want to try to get control of the upper body. His typical response is going to be to frame against me. This is the easiest way for him to go, but it's going to expose his back. It's very difficult for him to turn and replace his guard at this point, okay? Especially given the fact that I was just attacking his legs, right? So if we're here like this, and I'm like, oh, let me pass, and he's like, no, and I'm like, yeah. Then I'm going to push here, get the resistance, pop this pass here, this way. I may be able to go in and get the katakatame from here like this, get this like head and arm choke, right? But if he's on this side this much, it might be difficult. And if it is, here, 1, 2, back to the back, okay? See what I mean? So, I don't even remember how we got here. We were doing a guard pass, I think, at one point. And then I wound up attacking his legs for some reason. So we go here, and I'm like, okay, it's not quite getting the job done on this one. Try for this, maybe he pulls that one free. I'm gonna go here, try to get that. He's hiding this one from me, right? Maybe I miss this, he pulls this one back in. Okay, here, I'm gonna come up, try the hips in, so I continue to pass this across. All you need to know at this point right now is what? Here, close this in, come up, leg drag position. Everybody see the way that my legs are right now. My shin is stapling the bottom leg, my knee is on the floor. Both of his legs are facing this way. Okay? He doesn't like that I want to hug him. I call this the Pepe Le Pew. We go here, and he's pushing me away. I get the resistance, I pop this across, and come in on the head and arm. Stop and check for it. It might happen, right? But if it's not happening, I'm gonna drive the knee up high behind his head. 1, here. Step to clear, 2. Pull hard to the right. Okay? Questions? Okay? Let's look at this, guys. We're almost halfway. It's good. Okay? Any questions about this at all? No?
Can you show the start position where he freezes leg?
Yeah. So this is where we just were. It was right here, like this. Okay. But if for some reason, like I'm losing this, he's tucking this leg inside. You see it? Because like he's got to defend this some kind of way, right? And it may happen too that he's wanting to turn and gun it that way here to free his knee line. When I feel like I'm losing his knee line, that's a good time for me to want to come up. Does that make sense? So what I mean is, I want to see his knee protruding in here, right? If he starts to run away from me at this point here, this way, okay? If I can pass this and come up. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Aside from like the last 2 or 3 things, last thing, let's say, questions up to here. So the biggest thing that we're exploring today are pathways. More than any individual technique or any individual detail, it's just pathways. And even more than that, the thing that I want to try to get across, that whether to whatever degree it's going to get across, is the ideas of how to kind of formulate those pathways, right? And the principles behind those. Because the techniques are whatever. Like a technique is a technique is a technique. It's about what that technique can really drive home from a principle standpoint for you, right? So I mean, you can learn like all the vocabulary, but it's not going to show you how to like really construct the sentences. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm not going to beat these analogies into the dirt, but I do have one more there. This is a great metaphor that I heard a long time ago. It was a long time ago, and it really stuck out to me, and it hit me again hard whenever like it resonated with me on a jiu-jitsu level. And it was that I'm going to use the word jiu-jitsu. It's not what they were talking about, but I'm going to use the word jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is like soap, right? You put the soap on and everything, but your hands aren't clean because you have soap on. You got to rinse the soap off of them. Now your hands are clean. Does that make sense? You don't have to have you can have all the techniques in the world, and you can forget 95% of what you learned today, right? From a technique standpoint. But if there was a principle that you got out of today, then that's going to carry way farther, right? The problem is you can't learn principles as principles. That's just called philosophy. So it has to have some meat behind it. It has to have something tangible to latch onto. So I always joke around and say that Aikido and Tai Chi are the highest forms of martial art because they're so philosophical. It's just that the techniques don't tend to convey that. I think that Jiu-Jitsu does a much more beautiful job of conveying the elements that are the truest and the best philosophies of Aikido and Tai Chi. Because there's some substance to it. There's some real mechanical advantage to it. But all the philosophy stuff beside, any things that are related to the information today or not related to the information today. So we can do kind of a little Q&A, because right now the stuff that I could show, I can still show more stuff, but I think it would be more valuable if you guys had any questions about stuff that we could troubleshoot for you. Right? Anything?
Just the rotating into the calf crank, I'd say, was the only thing I was seeing him really struggle with. And like, if he could even just go over that transition into the calf crank that he did earlier.
So my answer about that a while ago was like how to, any details to make that easier, is don't do it from that position I showed. Yeah. Don't start there anyway. Just this is much easier to do this. We get here, right? I'm gonna go to the mount position. Right? And I'm gonna let him see how he's biting my ankle over here. Little ankle biter. So then here, right? I'm gonna turn down like I'm gonna touch his feet. See how my knee's up like this, right? Now I'm gonna put my shoulder, I'm gonna put my back right here, my 2 shoulders here. Okay, this is it. Same thing. Okay. That's the easiest way I know how to do it.
So that's not more like usually a lot of guys would do that whole rolling back, take your rolling to that, and you just kind of go right over from the top to that.
Yeah. What I like about it too is like, because I like to go kind of like segment it into it like that. Because what you'll get a lot of the time is just, people feel this and it's like, oh shit, there's that move, boom, and they go for it and they like blast out of it, right? But right here, what he started was like an elbow escape, right? You guys have probably all done this variation of elbow escape where you start to trap the ankle first because you can't get the standard elbow escape. Right? Well, if I cross my legs on top of his legs the same way, like this, right? He's pretty bad shape. Right? So this is in the main, boom, right? But here, this way here, like he's pretty tangled up. He can't really shrimp away. He can't really turn too much, right? So now if I just go here and roll, right? Wait, I can make it easier. Hang on. I can make it easier. Just do that instead, right? Forget all that other stuff. But no, this is the thing I like about this roll though, is that it gives me opportunity for the back take, right? What if he's in turtle position? Easiest back take, I guess I should have led with this one, but easiest back take in the world. Here, my knee here, my elbow here. I pull, when he's about to fall on my leg, I swung. Okay. Now, how's he gonna get back to turtle position? If he wants to go back to turtle, go ahead. Go. Okay. If I take weight off of him, he can turtle back like this. And watch this here. If I keep weight here this way, go back to turtle. See what happens, right?
Break his frame down with your leg.
Well, the only way he can go back from on his side to turtle is by extending this leg. And now all that space is open here. Right? So that gives me tons of time to get that leg back inside, right? Right. So now once I get my leg here this way, right? Again. Okay, there we are. If we go here, he's like, ooh, I don't like that. And he decides he wants to rotate toward me, right? It's the same thing, right? So there's so many ways to get to that position. And it's a strong position, not just because, like, it's a position where you can get a calf slicer. The calf slicer is whatever, right? Now, how much control it gives me over his lower extremities, that's everything, right? Because I can take the back off of there. There's more submissions than just that. And there's that back take. There's the best thing about it. Because like if we get here, last piece I'll show, and then I'll shut up about it, but I just get excited about the truck. We get here, right? There is this, but I mean we can stop and control here, right? Like push it now. That's not, yeah. Here, and then at this point here, I can extend and stretch. Keep this going here. That's awful, right? Or we can just be nice and take us back. Okay. But yeah, it's a great position, man. It's powerful. And there's so many ways. Side control, turtle, mount. The standing one we did today is a little more complicated, but they all lead to that truck position. Right? Does that help at all?
Yeah, that was cool. A lot of variations.
Okay. Does that help? Cool. Yeah. So why don't we practice that for our last actual technique? And while we're practicing, if you guys think of any other questions, I'll be happy to address them in the last remaining few minutes. But for right now, let's practice. Practice what? I just showed like 8 things. What are you talking about? Let's do it from here. My partner can just let me have this hook, right? Lots of ways I can get that hook. Everybody see the hook that I have here? Okay? I'm gonna take my 2 hands and grab the other leg here. Down here by the ankle or the shin. Step, sit back to here. Okay? And you can do all that other weird stuff. You can go calf slicer, you can go crotch ripper here like this. You can you can attack either, right? You can go in for the guillotine or the twister, you take it back, whatever you want. The main thing is learn how to bake the cake and decorate it however you want, right? Okay. Let's go, guys. 1, 2, 3.
Somebody, so for example, if I'm almost somebody who's considerably smaller than me, I'm not trying to muscle them real hard, I'm trying to match strength. When they're just, you're in mount, and they're just locked in like this, not doing anything. What can you do to either peel the arms, because obviously they're real strong here, they're defending the chokes, but they just, without muscling them, right? You know, if I weigh 100 pounds more than them or whatever, do you have any tips on opening them up? Normally, if their arms are down, I'm going for the neck to open the arms, and then the arms open the neck, and kind of thing. But I get stuck in that a lot with some other people.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on it. But I mean, it's like, I don't really know a better way than just throw a bunch of techniques at it. Okay, so let me have a small person. Any small people over here? Anybody in the entire room that's small? Anybody that's a small person? Anybody? Yeah, okay. You're small. That's okay. So I'm bigger than she is. I don't know if you guys noticed. So when we get here, and she's just defending like hardcore, right? Now don't get me. Just we're gonna go home alone or reverse home alone. Like this, all right? So we're like this. Tuck your chin down. Yeah. So everything's crazy tight. So yeah, I could definitely probably muscle her. Like I just like push her arm out, right, or something, right? So when we get here, one of my favorite things to do is like, if you want the neck bug the arm, if you want the arm bug the neck, right? But neither one are really exposed right now. I like this thing I call Evangelist Control, where I just go like right here. Do you like this? Nobody does. Nobody likes this. They tend to respect it though. They tend to show it some kind of attention. What are you gonna do with this here? Right. You know what I mean? So she's gonna do something. She may not do something that pronounced, but she's gonna do something, right? And sometimes it's just experimentation that works like that, right? Now, the other thing too is like if I can get underneath their head. Now, what this does a lot of the time too is like they don't like their head being pressed down. So once it comes off, they lift their head enough for me to get underneath. If I can get underneath their head, I can make something happen generally. What I like to do, because we don't have clothing to choke them with, we don't have the grips, and she's doing a good job of keeping her arms protected, you can go punch choke, right? So I'm gonna go like, my buddy Jared calls this temple dimple control, where you put your chin right against their head, and then you put your fist right here on their neck, and you squeeze, and she doesn't like it, she maybe taps. If she doesn't tap, she brings her arms in to start like to defend some kind of way, right? And when that happens, now we can start to isolate that arm, like that, right? You do this control here, right? If you don't, you should be, right? So this is really strong. And then we start hiking up, and we get this little monkey mount on her, right? Now, say none of that's working, right? And I can't just elbow her in the face as much as I'd want to. Then from here, that thing that we just did from the mount a second ago, even if she's not trying to escape like that, right? I can kind of make her, right? And Eric's got a good thing he does from here too. It's really annoying, but this is my variation on it, is that I'm gonna get this hook here, like this. You might wanna come over here. And I'm gonna put my shoelaces on her opposite thigh. This way. Okay, you see this? Yep. Watch. It's a lot of leverage. Right? Or back to that thing we were talking about a while ago, right? Here. Or take her back off of it. Okay? So it's really hard to defend the arms, both arms, the neck, and the legs all at the same time. And so, that's one reason why mount is such a powerful position. Ironically, the mount is the most unstable position you can be in on the ground, because your base, your foundation is centered over their explosive charges. The strongest move that she can do on the floor is the bridge. That's the most powerful move you can do on the ground, I think. I don't know any another. I think the bridge is the strongest move you can do. And because my hips are centered over her hips, when she bridges, it's going to affect me big time. So for that reason, mount is a very unstable position, so I have to be kind of careful with it. Because like as I'm sitting here, if you get overzealous whenever you get to the mount, like, oh man, I can attack now, I'm going to go for it. That's a good time to lose your position, because the other person is going to take advantage of that, because they're 100% defense at that point. Okay? They don't have to think about how to get creative and attack you. They just have to survive and defend and then escape. Right? So whenever you have like fewer options, things become a lot more simple. You don't have to do a whole lot. So does that kind of give you a okay. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else like that, guys? Any other sticky spots, trouble spots for you guys? No?
Just passing butterfly carp, I think we went over that five too.
Yeah, that was the thing we didn't get to today. That was my other thing I had written down to teach today, and I spent too long on some other stuff. I don't know what. I can show it to you real quick if you want to see it. The butterfly guard pass I like to do. We didn't do the body lock pass today, which I'm really disappointed about. And we didn't do this cool cradle lock, this cool cradle pass that I really like a whole lot. How about you just? This is my new favorite thing. New favorite way to pass a butterfly guard. It's not mine. I stole most of this from Neil Melanson and some of it from David Patron. So we get here and I'm fighting like this. I don't want him to get good ties on me or anything. So I'm trying to go here like this. And the main thing is like I'm trying to get, like this here. He knows I wanted him to put that arm down, so he doesn't like that, so he brings his arm back inside, right? So once here now, I'm gonna tuck his head this way. If I can get here, I can do this pass. Yeah, okay, so you get here, and I wanna cut here this way, okay? So I tuck his head, one, hook here, two. Now, there's a little gap of space here, I'm gonna stick my nose in there, and I'm gonna fall. Woo! So, the way this works though is like I'm just establishing this cradle here. Once I get that cradle, I tuck my face. I gotta tuck my face or he's gonna roll over and it's gonna suck. I tuck and I just fall. Here. I'm essentially passed right now. It's just I want to be greedy and go to the back, right? So I go here, cup one, two, staple. Now I can take this arm out and swap. Now I've got this cradle from the back here. Okay? Like this leg up high, sit them up. Step. Okay. Okay.